I decided that I don't read enough books, and especially given that I've been home from uni for over a month now, I've really read a miserable number of books. So from now on I'm going to try and do book reviews for as many books I read as I can, which then means that I will be encouraged to read more books because I am making videos about it. I don't know, maybe, I hope. So to start that off, I am going to recommend 3 of my favourite series and 3 of my favourite, like, standalone books. Let's go! The first book is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, which I'm sure many people watching this will have already at least heard of, if not read, but I just think that it's a really, really, really good book. So there. The main protagonist of the book is Hazel Grace Lancaster, who is 16 and has terminal cancer. As you may expect from that description, there are some sad moments in this book, but there are also plenty of happy moments, so don't let that put you off. The next book is Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and this is in fact one of the few books that I've managed to complete whilst I have been away from uni, and in fact I finished it in one entire car journey on the way down to Birmingham. That's how good it was. I literally couldn't put it down, and then when we pulled into the hotel I had about 10 pages left and I was like, no, we can't be here yet, I've not finished my book yet! So when we got in, Emma was like, we're gonna have dinner in a bit, I'll come back to your room in about 15 minutes, is that alright? And I was like, yes, that's fine, I can finish my book. I started it not really knowing anything about it. I'd only read the bit on the back. I hadn't actually read the blurby bit, technical term, and that was a really lovely way to do it, I thought. Because of the way the book works, it's kind of nice to jump in not quite knowing what's going to happen. So because of that, all I'm really going to say is that it's quite a childish fantasy story, the bulk of it, but because of the way it's written you can definitely read it and enjoy it and take lots from it, no matter how old you are. And my third and final book is 172 Hours on the Moon by Johan Harstad. I really hope I'm saying that right because he is Norwegian and I can't speak Norwegian at all. So it was originally written in Norwegian and the Norwegian title is Dala, but obviously this is translated into English, and I actually picked this up in America. We went into a bookstore because I am physically incapable of walking past a bookstore without going into it and buying something. It's about 3 teenagers who get the opportunity from NASA to go to the moon, to visit NASA's new moon base. And not just visit, but like work there and help out with some of the experiments as well. So me being quite scientifically minded, to put it mildly, was quite attracted by that idea because I would love to go to the moon. Like seriously, wow. So once the cover had caught my eye, that description definitely got me interested. But then as well, because the 3 teenagers are from different places around the world, there's one from Norway, one from Japan and one from France. So with each teenager having their own quite complicated backstory, it really gave an added extra to the story that I thought was, you know, go to space, do stuff in space. Saying that, the going to space bit really is the best bit of the book. And really the ending is, I loved the ending so much. I didn't expect it, so I'm not going to say anything about it other than I really, really loved the ending. At this point, an honourable mention goes to Good Omens. It was pretty much the first thing I'd read by either author, and it really made me want to read more books by them. But because I already had some Neil Gaiman on the list, this one missed out. Moving on to series, another honourable mention goes to The Hunger Games. I really, really love this series, and I would recommend it to anyone. And if you've seen the film but haven't read the books, definitely read the books. One final honourable mention goes to the Harry Potter books, because it goes without saying that they're amazing and everyone loves them. So my first series is the Noughts and Crosses series by Mallory Blackman. This book is set in a world where people are separated and are different classes because of the colour of their skin. It focuses on a Romeo and Juliet style romance between a nought and a cross, but then the best thing is that it moves on to properly address the issues behind a society where people are separated because of something they can't control. I also really love that each chapter is told by a different person, so you get to see everyone's perspective in the story, which makes it just a bit more interesting, especially once you get to Knife Edge and Checkmate, which are the other 2 books in this trilogy, because it's just the sort of story that keeps on going and going, which is where Double Cross comes in, which is kind of not part of the storyline of the other trilogy, but still continues on from there. And I feel I should mention that these have Not Suitable for Younger Readers printed in big letters on the bottom. Series number 2 is the Inkheart series by Cornelia Funk. This one you might have heard of because it was made into a movie that had Brendan Fraser in it, which I thought was quite a good movie, although it changed a lot from the book, and This is a trilogy. The other two books are Inkspell and Ink Death. And it did kind of annoy me that they didn't leave any room for the next two books in the film. They made it a standalone film that was not open to any sequels, which did disappoint me because, like I said, I thought it was quite good and I really loved the trilogy. It's about a girl, Maggie, and her dad, Mo, who, when he reads from books, the things that he reads come to life. And both Maggie and Mo really love books. Mo is a bookbinder. So if you love books, then I think you can really get into the story because you can really empathise with Maggie especially. It's the sort of story that once it starts, it just keeps going, because even though each book kind of has its own storyline, they obviously link into the others, which gives this big story running through it. They're the sort of books where as soon as you start you just want to keep reading them because you want to see what happens next. The final series on my list is the Pelennor series by Alison Croghan. It's your traditional fantasy hero from humble origins goes on journey and discovers things about self and saves the world also kind of story. But the hero is female, which is what made me love it when I read it however many years ago that was, because I'd grown up reading like Harry Potter and the Inheritance Cycle where all of the main protagonists were male. So I just really loved that this one was a bit different and had a female, given that I was in fact female. Before you get worried, there's no like gooey romance or anything like that. It's just the same sort of story as you'd get from Aragon or anything like that. Except she's female, which is great. I loved that when I was younger. The first book, The Gift, is also called The Naming in some countries. I do not know which ones. I believe it's called The Naming in Australia because the author is Australian and the naming is normally like the main title used for the first book. So, but I'm not sure about America. I think it might be The Naming in America. So this is the second book, The Riddle, the third book, The Crow, and the fourth and final book, The Singing. And it really is the sort of story that keeps going over the 4 books. It's not like dragged out or anything horrible like that. It really just keep going and going and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So even though no one ever talks to me when I say this, I'm gonna say it anyway. If you've got a favourite book, any book recommendations, anything like that, leave them in the comments. Please, if you're watching this, do it, please, because I want to read lots of good books. And there are already so many good books on my to-read list. But please, do it. Please, I will love you. I will give you cookies. And like I said at the beginning, I want to make more book reviews, so that will be happening starting from next video, because I am someone who keeps my word when I say things. Don't look at me like that. I do. I promise. I always do. I do. I don't like you. Stop looking at me like that. The book I'll be reviewing is Kyle vs. Lila Battle for the Cyberdrons, which is available as an ebook. There will be a link down there. It is available for free for a limited time only, so get on it, and I will be reviewing it next time. So I will see you then. TTFN. It's about 3 There's a fly. I think it might be called that in Australia because the author is Australian. That was bad.